I need a 30 for 30 to show that I'm different like Jordan and Pippen. I need a 30 for 30 like Jalen and Webber. Nobody gon' fuck on my click. I need a 30 for 30. All right, America, I'm glad to be bringing to you another segment of Ray's Take. My brother Ray Caesar Leo has some things on his mind. It's been stewing, it's been brewing for about a week now. So I'm gonna let him hit y'all with that. Ray, what's happening, man?
Man, as always, I appreciate everybody, supporting us and tuning in and hearing what we have to say. This week, I'm gonna take a shot at a legend, man. And I wish I didn't have to, but sometimes legends need to be checked as well, because sometimes they live out of the realm of reality, and it's up to us, the common folk, to bring them back, right?
Or the others, let him say it.
Or the others, and who we're talking about is Shaquille O'Neal. All right. At this point, we all know why we're talking about Shaq on this show, in this segment, because of the shots that he took at Donovan Mitchell and the way he took the shots, in my personal opinion. For folks who don't know, if you've been hiding under a rock, he essentially went at Donovan Mitchell in a post-game interview and didn't even lead with a question. He just came right in like, I've always said that I didn't think you had what it takes to make it to the next level. Well, first of all, as a former journalist, that's not a question. That's a statement. We didn't bring you on here to make a statement. We brought you in here to ask a question to a guy who, by the way, had a ridiculous game before he was interviewed by Shaq, right? He went off, and Shaq proceeds to tell him, I'm doing this to motivate you and blah, blah, blah. And Donovan Mitchell's like, yeah, well, okay, cool, man, whatever. It is what it is. People have doubted me. He gave the right answer. Mm-hmm. Here's the problem I have with it. From the surface, Shaq says, I have the G14 classification, so I can talk to guys like this because I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Mm-hmm. Respect to you, Shaq. You are one of the greatest players of all time. I'm not here to like downgrade Shaq's status as an all-time great. Couldn't do it, right? Shaq, when we were coming up as young men, as teenagers, was the most dominant player we have ever seen, right? Get it in the block. Nobody can stop him once he's at that point, okay? So we're going to lay that down, put it on wax, establish it.
Right.
But here's the problem that I have with Shaq. First of all, Shaq, if you're trying to motivate a guy, and if you're Shaquille O'Neal, you have the ability to reach out to Donovan Mitchell behind the scenes. You're Shaquille O'Neal. You reach out to Donovan Mitchell's people, they'll make sure you get Donovan Mitchell's cell phone number, and you can go at that man directly and say, look, I don't know if you have what it takes to reach the next level, right? I think you might, but I don't really know. You can say that to him as a man, and now it's handled. So when you bring it up on camera, say, hey, remember when I called you that time and said, look, man, I don't know if you got it. That was me motivating you. Not just trying to put that man on the spot in the beginning, right? In front of millions to see. That's the issue I have with it. The other issue I have with it is this. Okay. Shaq acts like he's the gatekeeper for all-time greatness, right? Shaq likes to make it seem like, oh, I led teams every time, it was my way or the highway. Let's be real about it. All right. Shaq is not the greatest center of all time. Let's stop that. I can think of two guys, maybe even three off the top of my head right now, that are better than Shaq. I can go Wilt Chamberlain. I can go Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And for me personally, I can go Hakeem Olajuwon. That's just me. But if you don't, real. That's just real. But if you don't like the third one, the two you cannot argue with. Point blank, period. Why? Because Shaq won't argue with it deep down. All right. That's the first part. The second part is this. Donovan Mitchell's best teammate that he's had since he's been in the league is Rudy Gobert. All right? Not sleeping on Rudy Gobert. He's an all-star, perennially great defensive player. But it's Rudy Gobert. You know who Shaq's best teammates have been throughout his history? The second best shooting guard of all time and the third best shooting guard of all time. And Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade. Before that, he had a guy named Penny that before his knees got busted up like mine was on his way to being one of the greatest players of all time. So for Shaq to get on that camera and act like he's been doing this his entire career by himself, man, we got to stop it. Shaq was not the best player in Miami. And one could argue that toward the end of his career in LA, he wasn't the best player there either. We got to stop it. I understand that Shaq feels like that he can never be challenged on stuff, but that's like a bully mentality. And the thing that I don't appreciate about Shaq is when he gets on camera, he starts going at guys. Anytime somebody like Chuck or Kenny goes back at him on something, he gets real sensitive about it. And he wants to go back to, well, I got the rings and y'all can't tell me what to do. No, sometimes, man, you need to take a step back and just say, I was wrong. The way he treated Spider Mitchell was flat out wrong. Shaq, in my opinion, this is just one man's opinion, has never been in a situation like Spider Mitchell. Okay, where you are the dog night in and night out, and you don't have that same caliber of help that Shaq has had. So he needs to stop it. Because when Shaq didn't have Penny, because that's the only window we can really go off of, where Shaq was an A player and he didn't have, the quality of talent around him, was before Penny got there. So we're talking, what, 2 or 3 years?
Yeah.
The Magic were not to be talked about. Shaq was to be talked about, but the Magic were not. Shaq needs to stop it, and he needs to stop it now, because at the end of the day, that was real disrespectful the way he treated that guy on camera.
No cap on that. No cap on that. While you were saying that, I was over here making a list of a few guys, and I want to run these by y'all to see who y'all gonna take. Because in the comments that you mentioned about Shaq talking about he got G14 classified credentials to say what he want to say, and that only 2 guys in this league have done what he's done. He said LeBron and he said Steph. Now, you just ran down Shaq's teammates. It shouldn't be any question about that. We know who Kobe Bryant was. We see that how people still reacting to Kobe's death a year later. So we know that. So he got 3 of his ships with a guy like that, who most people think is better than him.
Yep.
A guy who critiqued his work ethic.
Yep.
The root of their beef was Shaq didn't work hard.
Correct. Correct.
Like, come on, man. Like, so really, your play was based off you being a freak athlete, being a guy at 7 feet, 320 pounds, 330, that can run and jump. But that's just God.
That's God, man. And listen, and that's great. And that's great. At the end of the day, what Shaq has done, nobody can take away from, right? I used to hate the Lakers in the early 2000s because I knew that early on in the game, when you were just giving that thing to Shaq, it was an automatic bucket. Like, that's how dominant he was. And it didn't matter. You could put the perennial defensive player of the year, Dikembe Mutombo, in front of him, and he would treat Dikembe like a baby. Right? That's the facts. But for Shaq to act like he just did that all the time, dude, that's not the truth. That's not. That is not the truth.
He like fourth quarter again. Like a fan. Yeah. We had to get the ball to Kobe. You know what I'm saying? We had to get the ball to somebody who gonna make the free throw.
And as tremendous of an offensive player he was, the guy was a liability in certain defensive situations. So for him to act like he was just like he was just this complete player, I watched the Sacramento Kings like expose him in pick and roll. Yes, he won championships. They never touched him. I got that. We're not here to argue about Shaq's greatness. Shaq is an all-time great, a top 5 center. One of the greatest players to ever play, an MVP, a multiple champion. You can't take that away from him. But for Shaq to act like his resume gives him the authority to clown young men who are coming up in this game, who's to say Spider Mitchell doesn't link up with somebody later on in his career and accumulate 3 or 4 championships? Right? Like, I get it.
To that point, that's why I want to ask y'all this then. Okay. So the 2 guys he said he respects, or they have accomplished what he's accomplished, LeBron and Steph. I'm gonna run down their best teammates for y'all. Y'all tell me which one of these guys that LeBron and Steph have won championships with, which one of these guys y'all would take Rudy Gobert over?
All of them, all the ones you're about to name, but go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm starting off with Bron teammates. AD or Rudy Gobert?
Easy. AD.
D-Wade, Rudy Gobert.
3rd best shooting guard of all time. It's easy.
Kyrie, Rudy Gobert.
It's easy. Kyrie.
Bosh, Rudy Gobert.
It's easy. Chris Bosh.
Kevin Love, Rudy Gobert.
I may go Rudy Gobert right there. Just so people don't think I'm like just trying to stack up on Shaq. I may go Rudy Gobert right there.
Okay. See where you at.
I'll take Gobert.
I'm taking Kevin Love. Kevin Love. I keep saying Rudy Gobert is the boy in Atlanta just with trophies. What's the boy in Atlanta, T? Boy that used to be in Houston? Capella.
Clint Capella.
Rudy Gobert is Capella with some trophies. That's who Rudy Gobert is. And Shaq don't even like Rudy Gobert.
I know.
Shaq just started a war with Rudy Gobert before he attacked Spider.
And that's what I'm saying. This is like to me, Shaq knows he's wrong in this moment, but he's one of those guys that, like, he's never going to admit that he was wrong. He's just going to keep digging the hole deeper. And I just don't like people like that, man. Like in this moment, just say you're wrong, man.
Okay.
Apologize to that guy. Listen, when he clowned James Harden about like, we gave you everything you asked for, James Harden, right? We gave you Russell Westbrook. You wanted to play with Westbrook. We gave you a Chris Paul. He's right in that sense. He is right. In this case, he is wrong. This young man, Spider Mitchell, is just balling as hard as he can. Already an all-star, by the way. Already a threat. Already has his team in the postseason in a tough West. So he's doing everything you would ask him to do for a 24, 25-year-old that doesn't have real caliber talent around him. Besides Rudy Gobert, who we all know is really one-dimensional, he doesn't have key pieces around him. Even when Shaq's career was on the downturn, he went and played with LeBron and the Celtics.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about, man?
All right, so y'all got Gobert. If Gobert played with Bron, y'all would have him as Bron's 5th best teammate. 5th best teammate. All right. But Steph, the other guy that I guess Shaq said is G14 classified already in the league.
Yeah.
This
Steph is the greatest shooter of all time.
Right.
And one of his teammates is the second greatest shooter of all time. Go ahead.
And I'm gonna start off. KD or Gobert. I shouldn't even ask that.
No,
all right, Klay Thompson or Gobert.
Second greatest shooter of all time. You got to go Klay.
All right. Your favorite player, brother, currently in the league.
You know I'm not going against Dre. You know I'm not doing that.
Draymond or Rudy Gobert.
You know I'm not doing that. I'm not going against Dre. I'm just not doing that. Not in this case. Now that you putting him up against Gobert, I'm not doing that.
Tell you who you got.
I'm going to take Draymond.
So, all right. So that's what I'm trying to say, man. And what we talking about? That's what these analysts are doing. They're being so lazy.
I know.
And when they're criticizing Giannis, they're doing the same thing.
Correct.
When they're criticizing Giannis, pretty much everybody who hasn't won yet, they're critiquing their game like you need to do this, you need to do that. When first of all, whether it's Shaq talking, you were lazy and didn't want to do the work.
Exactly.
Okay. Whether it's Barkley talking, you were lazy and you weren't the best leader. You were a 20 and 10 machine now.
Absolutely.
But in terms of the leadership that like in the last dance that the Bulls folks are saying, Mike had us in the weight room.
Yeah.
Mike made sure we went hard. Mike was doing it. Chuck, that wasn't you. So you critiquing all them guys like that.
Didn't we discuss one time before this man like barely led the league in rebounds? Like he never really led the league in rebounds, Shaq?
Yeah.
I think we talked about that like one time.
Yeah, remember, because you were doing some Akeem research, T.
Yeah.
And that was some of the stuff you were finding. Like, how you 7 feet 300? How you ain't leading the league in rebounding every year?
If you're the most dominant player that we've seen with our own eyes, right? Then you should be able to dominate the boards as well. That's just a part of it. See, we could also go into critiquing Shaq and saying, here are your flaws. You're horrible when it comes into defense on the pick and roll, right? For you to be 7'1", 330 pounds, and you're not leading the league, or at least at the very top of the league every single year in rebounds and blocks, that's ridiculous because we know what your athleticism can do, right? Yep. But we don't. We just say, hey, man, at the end of the day, Shaquille O'Neal is one of the all-time greats. It doesn't matter if he was flawed in certain areas. You're one of the all-time greats. But actually, Go ahead, T.
No, I'm sorry. I was going back to my rebounding thing about Shaq. This is what I text y'all. I know I text Wells this. It says Shaq never won a rebounding title, which is ludicrous. Rodman, Webber, KG, Mutombo, and Wallace all won titles around him.
Yeah.
Hakeem won it twice.
Yeah.
Back to what Ray had said about him being the third best center in his list.
Yeah, man. It's to the point where just because you dominated when you were playing, respect to that, but that doesn't hold you as the gatekeeper of greatness. Hey, man, ask the guys who play against Spider Mitchell. Is he good or not? Is he great? Forget good. Is he great? Like, is he a problem? Is he a problem on that court when you step on there with him? Yes, sir, he is. He's a real problem. Yep. Without Spider Mitchell, the Utah Jazz are irrelevant. They're not in the postseason.
Yep.
So that lets you know how dominant he is.
Yep.
He's out there with a guy that can defend the glass on one end, but can't really help him on the offensive end. and he goes and puts them in the postseason. That's who Spider Mitchell is. That's the respect that young man deserves right now. Forget waiting until he does something. Right now, he deserves that respect. And it just rubs me the wrong way, man, when guys like Shaq and Chuck go after guys, man, when it's just not warranted. And some of that, again, as a journalist, it irks me because I know what the real problem is. Guys like Shaq and Chuck, they just don't do their homework, right? They're still stuck on Spider, but maybe his rookie year, his second year, I don't know. If you look at Spider today, if you watch his games, you'll see that he cannot be guarded by your average Joe. Elite guys can't stay in front of him.
They're lazy, man. These, like you said, these guys are not journalists. We know how Chuck got hired. Chuck got hired because he'll do stuff like kiss Dick Pavetta.
Yeah.
And Shaq got hired because he break dancing and all that kind of. They got hired because of their personalities.
Yeah.
Kenny got hired because to do the analytical stuff. That's why they send him to the board to try to break down stuff. But that's it. Them other two cats, they don't never entertainment value, and everybody knows it. But they like Shaq want to be more journalistic though.
Yeah. But do your homework.
Do your homework, man.
Yeah. Do your homework.
Jobs, man. He can't do homework. He got
do
too
your
many
homework,
jobs.
man.
Trying to stay on me something else I just saw. Some batteries.
He finna be some kind of community affairs guy here soon in Georgia, I think.
Yeah. And here's what I say. You know, honestly,
all kinds of stuff going on.
It comes down to this. And you know, I texted this to us in the group text, but to the folks watching, if Shaq wants to critique Donovan Mitchell on being a better businessman, go ahead, right? Because Shaq is the ultimate businessman. This guy has money in places that every time we're like, Shaq does that? Or if he wants to endorse Spider and teach him how to be a better father, when Spider, I don't know if he has kids or not, but like, you know, when he has kids I think Shaq is a great father. I really do. A philanthropist, right? Shaq donates to his communities, make sure that kids that won't get anything for Christmas every year, he buys out a store, right? You want to teach them on those things, brother, by all means, go ahead, because you do that. Like, you're really about that. But this is not what you do, right? You're not, I was the most dominant player, but I also worked harder than everybody. So therefore, I can tell you what it's all about. Right. That's not you. You were born big and quick. And that is why you whooped everybody every night. No shots taken, because at the end of the day, God bless you with that. So you're supposed to dominate with the talents that God gives you.
Right.
But that's it. That's it.
What if he approached it from this standpoint, y'all? What if he talked to Spider and it was like, hey, man, you don't have the kind of help right now with you that some of the great franchises have. Like, you don't have an Anthony Davis with you. You don't have a Klay Thompson. You don't have a KD got James Harden. That just he got James and Kyrie. Like, you don't have that with you right now. So I know I have 4 championships, but if I'm being honest, I didn't win them without Kobe. I didn't win them without having D Wade. Like, so what is going to be your game plan for either grooming somebody on your team to be that person, or do you see yourself leaving Utah in the near future?
That's it. See, that is a real question with perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to throw in your opinion, that's when you become that subject matter expert matched with a journalist. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the stuff that I can't provide that Shaq and Chuck and Kenny can. I never played in the NBA. So I can't.
He can throw in the truth.
He can throw in the truth with it, and it'll be legitimized because Shaq has dominated every time he's gone to the finals, right? Well, not every time, but he's dominated at that level. You get what I'm saying? So that's the perspective that Shaq can present. That's why they brought him in, because he can do that, and guys will respect him to say, man, you know what? Shaq hit me with some critiques, some criticism, but at the end of the day, he's coming from a place that he's done that. But for him to just say, you know, I've been there and I've done this, so you ought to be able to do that too. No, his roster is completely different to what you had. All right, Shaq, stop playing like you didn't have Kobe Bryant and Robert Horry, one of the most clutch shooters in NBA history. Like, let's not ignore those things. Let's not ignore you had one of the greatest coaches to ever coach the game of basketball. Stop that. People at home don't know who the Utah Jazz's coaches is, right?
Hey, that's Pat Riley now with the Heat too.
Pat Riley with the Heat as well.
He had both.
You get what I'm saying? Like two of the greatest coaches to ever do
think
this.
that one in Miami what got Zoe on that team.
Yeah, man, they had Zoe. They
got Gary Payton on that team.
Payton, James Posey, man. They had
that's the role players. That's you know what I'm saying.
Role players that are all-time greats. So like,
come on, man.
Shaq has to stop.
Come on, man.
He has to stop portraying it to say, you know, when I showed up, you know, championships happen. No, when you went to Phoenix, they didn't happen. When you went to Boston and Cleveland, they didn't happen. When you were in Orlando and you were at your peak then, before you even went to LA, he was at his peak.
Pre-Penny.
Did they win a championship?
No. Swept.
Got there.
No.
Got swept by Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon.
No, man. So don't do that, young man, like that. Because Donovan didn't ask for that. All Donovan did was ball out that night, show up in front of the camera as a professional, and was ready to answer professional questions. If you want to hype up yourself, or you want to make a point to like try to like sun Donovan Mitchell, then pick up the phone and call him. Pick up the phone and call him, and don't tell me you can't because you are Shaq.
I wouldn't have tripped as much if he tweeted it.
If he tweeted it, like, but don't try to put that man on the spot to try to embarrass him because Donovan took the high road.
He did.
Donovan could have said the same things that I have said on this clip right now and said, "What did you do without Kobe and D Wade? I'll wait." He could have done that.
Yeah, right. That's probably what he should have done too.
And that's what he should have done.
I like how KD handled Chuck.
I love how KD handled Chuck. And I don't even like KD, but I love the way he handled Chuck.
Right.
Right? Because at the end of the day, whether I think Kevin Durant, you know, was a sucker for leaving OKC and taking the easy route, he does have an MVP. He does have multiple championships. So he can have that conversation with Chuck. And he chose not to. He was just like, you know, at the end of the day, Chuck, you're not on my level. And you know what? He's right. He's right.
I think y'all are absolutely right. He did the way he did it was just real disrespectful.
Yeah, man.
I think we could do a whole segment about who if we thought Spider was a one. Like the jury's still out if he's a one or like he could probably easily be a two. Like if he came to my Lakers. Like, and he was part of our big. We had a big three with Braun, Spider, and Anthony Davis. I still think Spider probably the third best player on that team.
No, I would agree. I would agree. Yeah.
You go to some other places. He might be the second best player behind some of the like. If he somehow Golden State was able to get him, if Clay can't ever come back, he'll be second best player behind Steph, and they'd be great. But Shaq said it in a way like, I'm willing to say this to your face. What you gonna do about it, type of thing.
But what's the reasoning though? That's my thing. Is what was the reasoning other than you just need some kind of clicks or likes?
They salty right now with these guys. You know, Chuck keep talking about, man, these boys sensitive.
Spider don't even be out there talking about them. He just go play ball.
It's real uneasy right now between the TNT staff and the current players. It'd be kind of tense.
If it came off awkward for us and disrespectful for us, and it came off disrespectful to some national media outlets, that's not something that we made up. That's something that really came off. I watched that live and was like, what was that all about?
Yeah, that was cringy.
Like Donovan Mitchell, for as much as a dog as he is on the court, is one of like the real laid back guys. Like he's not a Russell Westbrook. Like he's not like a fire starter, you know, a John Wall.
Yeah. What would have happened if he had said that to Russ Westbrook, bro?
See, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes in those situations, you just need the right guy.
I don't think they would say it.
It's honest, and that's what I was going to end with. It's good because it was Donovan. Had it been my guy Russ, had it been Russ West,
right?
No, sir. The interview would have gone a little bit differently.
Russ could have had a trash game and still would have snapped.
Russ could have had a triple-double that consisted of turnovers, and he still would have got on there and told Chuck and Shaq and Ernie too, just for letting them do it. you know how Russ would have been like, man, I'm out of here, man. You know what I mean? Like that's Russ.
They so do that to Russ. Remember Russ? Wasn't that Russ daddy that checked Stephen A?
Yeah, but again, it's convenient because Donovan doesn't know what's about to be asked, and ultimately Shaq has the stage to do whatever he wants. Again, I flip it. When they bring Draymond in studio, all the stuff that Chuck talks about with Draymond about how he's not that guy and he doesn't deserve to talk the way he talks. When they bring him in studio, and they've done it several times, because Shaq and Kenny pick on Chuck about it. Hey man, why don't you say what you were saying about Draymond, before he was in studio? And Draymond sits back like, yeah, go ahead and say what you were saying.
We got the triple single stuff we be saying from Charles Barkley.
Silence when Draymond Green is on the set. And Draymond actually says, no, I want you to do it. I want you to do it because he's ready. He's ready for it, right? Because Draymond in his mind feels like his contribution to that dynasty that they have is relevant. Not only is it relevant, it's greatness. And right. he will make legitimate arguments, right? He will give you cases of why.
What's your view on that, Caesar?
What's my personal view on Draymond? Oh, come on now. Let me tell you something. No, because it's a good question. It's a good question, actually.
Here we go. I'm gonna go eat chicken wing on that.
Draymond Green has told y'all, right? This thing doesn't go without him. It doesn't go. All right. You can put up all the FGAs you want from the land of good and plenty, but it just doesn't go without Draymond. And right. I have never been one to argue with Draymond Green.
Well, that's what it is, folks. That's another edition of Ray's Take. Appreciate you, boy.
Yeah, man. Love as always.
All right, homie.
Go. Subscribe to our daddy's YouTube channel. He's the best. Hit the like button, turn on the notifications.